The Marvel Multiverse RPG just got its second ever update, version 1.2. There's lots of good stuff. Let's jump right into it. I don't want to waste your time, so let's just talk about the cool shit. However, if you don't know what game I'm talking about, please click the card in the top right of this video. It will take you to a video where I talk about all the intro stuff that you need to understand this one. So go watch that, come back later. First off, they've totally overhauled the rank system, so instead of ranks 1 to 25, you only have ranks 1 to 6. And the reason that they're doing this is to make it more of like a superhero experience and less of like a leveling D&D style experience, which I think has both pros and cons. I think we happen to lose some of the progression stuff that old system would have given us, but you know, if they introduce stuff like magic item style stuff like gadgets and whatnot, then that's totally forgivable. Otherwise, I totally understand that this is based on feedback that they were given, that it doesn't feel like you're a superhero when you start out really weak and you grow to be stronger. Like, that's not how superheroes work, so I totally understand them making this change. They've also made changes to ability score points per rank, obviously, because when you adjust rank, you need to also adjust the ability scores that you earn for those ranks, and they've kind of just increased things. It's what these characters would feel like at these ranks, and the numbers make sense and the math becomes much simpler, so I like this change. And the new ability score cap system makes way more sense than the old one. Now you just take the number 3, always the number 3, and you plus your rank to that, and you plus any bonuses from your power set that you take. And that is way simpler than what it was before, so good change there. The biggest change that this update brings is them absolutely throwing the archetype tables out the window. All those big, long, boring tables with arbitrary numbers, gone. We don't need them anymore, but with that said, how do we then get our ability modification scores and our ability defense scores? Well, I'll tell you, it's way simpler than what it was before. Now you just take your rank, you add your ability score to your rank, you get your action modifier, and you add 10 to that to get your defense. Much simpler. It makes perfect sense, and the math just does itself. It's great. The karma system received a slight change because there are less ranks, so they just made it so that your karma is equal to your rank, and it can still be given out by the DM as normal, which I like a lot. And they've also added some functionality to karma where you can spend it to give yourself or your allies a chance to stand up mid-combat, which was something that this game was sorely lacking and that I homebrewed into my own campaign. But basically, you spend a karma point, you roll either vigilance or resilience depending on what kind of down you are, and then if you roll higher than a 10, you just get up. It's great. And then you heal based on whatever the middle die was, just like you would do damage. There's a small adjustment to initiative that kind of just nerfs the agility trait in that you have to use vigilance for it, which I am totally okay with, because when this game first released, agility was absolutely busted, and now it feels like it's in a much better place, if not still being a little strong. They've adjusted actions. They've removed easy actions entirely and just kind of left it up to the DM for what a player can and cannot do in the middle of a turn for those simple little things like reloading a weapon. And at first glance, I was totally okay with this change. I didn't think that it mattered very much. Like, I have lots of years of experience as a DM. I know what kind of they should be able to do as a bonus action without needing to call them that. And then I thought about it a little longer, and I realized that there were some specific powers that really leaned on easy actions like shield and attack stance, and I'm not quite exactly sure these will function.
Hold it right there. I was lying. I was capping. I was fully capping. They explain it in the update. I just didn't scroll far enough down and read the actual powers. They did change shield to a reaction, so that's totally handled by being a reaction now. Makes a lot of sense. And attack stance, I believe, is just a passive now. Makes more sense like that anyway. Alright, bye.
They made the really good decision where they combined the maintained and sustained power durations, which is huge because I didn't realize that there was a difference, and I've been playing this game for like 2 months. They've incredibly simplified the health and focus calculations to a point where I can actually remember what they are, which I really appreciate because I could not remember them for the life of me before. But now you just take your resilience or your vigilance modifier and multiply it by 20, and it is that simple. Oh my goodness, I love it so much. They've adjusted how much focus you can spend to 5 times your rank because there are 5 times less ranks now. So that makes perfect sense. There is a small change to the way the damage works, mostly because of the way the rank tables have changed, so generally you'll be doing a little bit less damage on average, which I think is a good thing. And also, they don't want you to use your ability modifier anymore when you roll damage, so you just take that middle number, multiply it by your rank, and multiply it by any other special case bonuses you have from powers like super strength or that whatever they'd called the new mighty. They have absolutely removed damage subtypes from the game, which I think is absolutely the right choice because I'd never looked at them and they were kind of confusing. They've adjusted the way that trouble works just a little bit, so now no players choose and it just goes with the default highest unless there's a tie, in which case the player does choose. But that's a good choice because most people are just going to pick the highest number anyway. They've totally removed critical failures from the game, which I think is a bit of a shame because I really like critical failures, so I'll probably homebrew them back in, but their reasoning is valid. You can't really do critical failures on 3 1s because 1 in the middle die is actually a good thing, so I'll probably just make it 1-2-1 is our critical fail, and keep them in because I like them, they're fun. They're adjusting the way that movement is displayed on your character sheet from feet to actual number of squares that you move, but otherwise it's exactly the same. The only reason I can think of for this adjustment is to change the way that it affects your flight and jumping powers, to nerf them a little bit, which I guess is fine. The power rank requirements were adjusted to match the new rank tables, and there was a focus cost added to anything with a rank requirement, which is a good thing because my players don't even know what the fuck focus does. That's how little it comes up. But my biggest issue with this update is that they did not give me a very clear table on what rank gets what power sets and what powers and what traits. So I made my own, and I'll put them on screen now, and you can feel free to use them. I basically just took what the rank requirement table was that I just showed you guys was, and referenced the current power tables, and did a little bit of, comparing, and that's literally it. Nothing too fancy, but if you were confused like I was, feel free to use them, and, hopefully they give us something a little more official. I'm sure they will, because it's a little bit of an oversight not to include something like that, because it makes the character creation process just a little bit more confusing than it needs to be. But feel free to use these in the meantime. Please consider liking and subscribing. It helps out a lot. Check out my show running this system. It's called Ultron Unleashed. We're coming up on our finale. It might even be out by the time you're watching this video. And I'm looking forward to continuing to play this TTRPG on this channel. So maybe consider subscribing and checking it out just for that. There's a playlist or a card on screen somewhere. Goodbye, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.